You're richer than you think. I want to talk today about things that you may be purchasing that are probably not necessary. And this could be a whole series in itself. And I'm not necessarily even telling you to compromise your lifestyle because the reality is a lot of these things that you want or that you think you want, you can get usually for free or for very little if you just pay attention. Especially if you keep in mind what the end goal is. You may want to buy a thing. But if you think beyond that to what is that thing going to do for me? What is it ultimately that I'm trying to get? Usually it's not the thing itself. It's ultimately happiness. That's ultimately what we want. But I also want us to challenge our preconceived notions, our own paradigms. We buy lots of things, but they don't really make us happy, do they? In many ways, anytime we acquire new possessions, we're just acquiring a new set of chains. That's really all they are. A new leash is really all that it is, a new money hole that we then have to take care of that becomes a constant headache. And is it really improving our lives? Or is it making our lives worse? And you can set up your lives in such a way that you don't need very much, but it does take maybe multiple years of planning and preparation to get there. In my mind, your life becomes better when you get rid of possessions, when you simplify things, when you reduce your spending, your happiness goes up. It's the opposite of what many people think. I might at some point put together an actual numeric model just to show how much money you could actually save if I include opportunity costs from things that you may be doing that you think you need, but you don't really need. And let me start with a big one. This could apply to you or to your children. How about a college education? Do you really need a college education? Do your children need college education? It's an interesting question. There are plenty of very successful people who didn't get college educations, and for much of recorded history, men did not necessarily go to college. Only a very small percentage of them did. And those men, even the ones who didn't go to college, seem to be more well-educated than the average college graduate today. And we could go through a lot of different scenarios on that. But if you have children, right now, conservatively, $25,000 a year for college, that's pretty conservative when you include tuition and books and room and board and everything else. Multiply that by 4 years, that's $100,000 per child to put them through college. And a lot of what they get in college might not only not be helpful for them, much of it is genuinely harmful to them, not only in terms of the education and the material that they're being fed, but in terms of the environment and the culture that they're being put in. In many ways, it's very toxic. I went through college myself, 4 years of a respected public university. If I could do it again, I probably wouldn't do that. But I think most people just go to college and send their children to college without really thinking about why they're doing this and lacking maybe the courage to go against the grain. Because if you don't go to college, people might look down on you. They might ostracize you. And you have to be willing to accept a certain amount of that. For private schools, it's about $57,000 a year. So multiply that by 4, that's almost $240,000 per child that you're spending, not to mention massive opportunity costs of what if you took $57,000 per year and fed it into a whole life insurance policy for 4 years instead and built up a significant amount of capital. What could you or your children do with that? Starting a business, buying your first car, setting yourself up to be successful, all those things that you could be doing. So, do you really need a college education? Does your child really need a college education? The question at least needs to be asked. Really sit down and think about it. Think about what do you or your child hope to gain from college, and is it worth the cost? And what alternative paths could there be? And I'm not telling you what to do. It's totally up to you. Just understand that obviously college comes with a fairly high cost, and just make sure that it's worth it. There are certainly some valuable things that comes out of college. Interestingly enough, I think some of the most valuable things are not typically considered. It's not so much the education, it's more the pedigree that opens doors in terms of jobs and credibility. But one of the biggest things is the alumni network. That's something people don't talk about enough. When you go to a good college, you get access to an alumni network where people are able and willing to help you out. And the better the college, the more valuable those alumni networks are. I have two siblings who went to Princeton. They have access to extremely valuable networks of alumni that are very successful and highly placed and have resources and lots of money. So there are a lot of things available to them that don't come from the classroom education, but rather the network. It was the same for me. I went to the University of Virginia, and upon graduation, I used the University of Virginia alumni network to land my first real job. And then a few years later, when I was doing a career change, I also used the University of Virginia alumni network to make that somewhat difficult transition into a new field. So that alumni network was valuable and continues to benefit me to some extent to this day. But this is just one of those things you need to consider. How about a vehicle? Do you really need a car? I would like to live where I don't need a car. I would like to live where everything is within walking distance. I think it's always good to start with the ideal in mind and then work backwards and do the cost benefit analysis to what's realistic. Because a lot of people just say, I need a car, dogmatically, period, end of story. Why? What is the car giving you? In an ideal scenario, none of us would need a car. You would live in the perfect neighborhood and everything would be right next door or delivered to your doorstep. And especially with modern logistics, it's easier now than ever to live without a car because you can get so many things delivered to your doorstep. And this might take some planning. You might need to eventually move somewhere where everything that you want or need is within walking distance. But maybe you don't need a vehicle. And if you're going to buy a vehicle, does it really need to be a nice new car? You can make some compromises here. As an example, maybe you have to take a pay cut to work remotely. But if you consider all the costs you're eliminating by not having that commute, by not having a vehicle, not to mention the peace of mind, the extra time you now have because you don't have that commute. On net, even from a pure financial standpoint, even though your top line income number has gone down, your bottom line improves so much that you probably on net are better off. Many other things as well, many other benefits. And if you're going to buy a vehicle, there's so many ways to save. The median new car costs $50,000. $50,000. It's a lot of money, plus the interest you'll pay if you finance the car via a loan, which is what most people do. If it's used, $35,000 is the median cost. What if you put $50,000 into a whole life insurance policy? What if you put $35,000 into a whole life insurance policy or even into a savings account? What could that do for you over 10, 20, 30, 40 years? What are you missing out on? The other unstated thing is, of course, if you're going to buy these things, you can take the money that you've earmarked for the purchase, feed it into your life insurance policy first, then take out a policy loan to finance that purchase. Then at least you've recovered the opportunity cost because you're still able to earn on those dollars in your policy. And now you're making car payments back to yourself, to your policy, instead of to a third-party lender. So if you're going to make that purchase, at least finance it in the most effective way. But what's far better is not making the purchase in the first place. And if you're going to buy a car, you don't have to spend that much money. I've bought 3 cars in my entire life. I would like to not own a car. I really would. I would like to be in a position where I don't have to own a car. And if it were not for my health issues limiting me in my living situation, I might not, because I went to great lengths. It actually didn't take that much work to set my life up such that I never really needed to drive anywhere. Everything I needed was within a 2-block radius, or it got delivered. I lived in Atlanta. No one would call Atlanta a walkable city. It's not, but there are places where you can set yourself up that way, and I did. And it was phenomenal. My quality of life went up dramatically from not having to drive. And the funny thing is, when you don't have to commute and you really don't have to drive anywhere, the funny thing is, driving can actually become fun again. If you have a stick shift car and you never have to drive anywhere, driving can all of a sudden become fun again instead of a chore like what it normally is when you're commuting or running errands. I never had to commute. I worked remotely and I never had to run errands. Everything got delivered, or I was able to walk. to anything I wanted to. So it'd only be an occasional drive. And my viewpoint was, if it's not within walking distance, it's not close. And I'm not driving anywhere. It's got to be super important to get me to drive somewhere. Think about how much time you waste in the car. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. But I've bought 3 cars in my entire life, and the reason why I bought them each time was because it was my first car, and then the next 2 I ended up unfortunately getting into an accident. Not my fault, but the car was totaled each time. And each time I bought a used car, and I spent less than $5,000 in cash. Less than $5,000 total, all in, and I paid cash. And these are good quality, reliable, used cars. I still have my current car. I just hit 200,000 miles on it. I would like to not have a car. Instead of looking to buy a fancy car and viewing that as if that's going to make you happy, how about eliminating the car? The car is just another leash. It's just another chain. You don't need it. Period. You do not need it. If you decide to buy one and spend a lot of money on it, just understand that car is not going to make you happy. I don't care what you think. It's not going to make you happy. It will not. It's just toys for grown-ups. That's all it is. Maybe you think you need one. I would at least challenge that presupposition. If you have a job that requires commuting, look at finding another job. The other thing you'll find too is everything is negotiable. If you establish yourself as a super valuable employee, your employer will work with you. If you make it clear to them that working remotely, not having a commute is important to you, they will work with you. They'll at least have some flexibility. And if they don't, and you're a good employee, then find another employer. Start working on your own. You can make it happen. I did. Total cost of ownership, the median is $12,000 a year in ownership costs in cars. That's the median. So not only do you pay to purchase the car, now you've got to pay for homeowner's insurance, maintenance. It could be a potential headache. There's the risk of you being killed or maimed in a car accident, or potentially you having liability for hurting someone else, damaging their car. There's the constant risk of getting into an accident. As I mentioned, I've gotten into at least 2 accidents that were not my fault, and my car was totaled. That was not a pleasant experience. I would not like to have the risk of getting into an accident. No matter how good of a driver you are, there's always the risk that something could happen. Is your car really making you happy, or is it just draining your money and your life away? Over 10 years, that's over $150,000 in costs, assuming you don't buy another one over those 10 years. So do you really need a car? And again, it's another thing where if you really feel like you need a car, you can spend a lot less money than you think. If you need to get somewhere, maybe you can carpool with someone else and you pay them for gas. Maybe you can Uber. There are lots of different options out there if you need to get from point A to point B that do not require buying a car. But again, if you really want to get ahead in finance, you've got to challenge your preconceived notions. There are all these things that you buy, all these things that you do without thinking about it. I've learned in my own life and from being in business doing consulting, the biggest problems are never things that we can see. It's usually some preconceived notion or some unstated assumption that we're making that is the problem. Why do you think you need a vehicle? Why do you think you or your child needs a college education? Really think through that. What is it giving you? What tangible benefit is it really giving you? And I think what you'll find is you can get those same benefits better elsewhere, or you'll find a lot of those things that appear to be benefits on the surface are really detriments, and you're just doing them because your neighbors are doing them and you want to go with the flow and be with the crowd. You don't want people to perceive you as weird or look down on you because you don't have a vehicle, or you don't have a flashy vehicle, or you're not sending your children to college. Now, I have a client who has children. He's not going to pay for their college. It's already set. He doesn't believe in college. If the children want to go to college, they can pay for it themselves. He's not going to pay for it. It's up to them. So if they really want to go to college and they really believe in it, they can take out student loans and do it. It's up to them. He's not going to pay for it, so he's not saving for it. And it's not a money issue. He probably could pay for it, but he just doesn't believe in it. That's something I think some parents should consider. And same thing with the vehicle. Is it really making your life better that you have to drive everywhere, that to do anything, you have to get in your car and drive at least 10 minutes? So that's 20 minutes round trip. Maybe you have some traffic. Maybe you have to fight for a parking spot, all that nonsense. What if you could eliminate that? I think you can. Now, it might take you a long period of time to get there. There might be planning. You might have to move. You might have to set up your life differently. I had to do all of those things, but it was worth it, man. It took me multiple years, but it was worth it. It was totally worth it. I had a car, but I could have gotten rid of it because I used it so rarely. And like I said, the funny thing was driving became fun again because I did it so rarely. And I only did it on my terms, so I was never having to battle traffic or anything like that or run an errand. I was never driving because I had to. I was driving because I wanted to. How about a cell phone? Do you need a cell phone? Is your cell phone really improving your life? Is it really necessary? Or is it not just an electronic leash that the elites give you that you voluntarily put on that they use to track you, monitor you, and change your behavior? Is it really necessary? Think about all of the supposed benefits that your cell phone is giving you. Is it really benefiting you? I'm not denying that there are some real benefits that come from owning a cell phone, but if you write them down, I think you'll find that all the benefits that you're getting from the cell phone, you can get elsewhere without the baggage that comes from a cell phone. And a lot of those benefits are really just detriments in disguise. We're just following the herd. We're doing it because everybody else is doing it, not because it's making us happy. And being without a cell phone, even if it comes with certain inconveniences, it's still going to make your life overall happier, better. And those inconveniences are worth it because the cell phone introduces 10 more inconveniences that we don't think of as inconveniences because everyone has gotten used to them. Just like with the car, we don't think of it as, oh, I have to drive 30 minutes one way and battle traffic every day. That's an inconvenience, isn't it? That's a massive headache. But because everyone is doing it, we don't really think of it as being all that big a deal. That's a huge deal. That's an hour of your life every day that's miserable potentially. When you add up 1 hour a day over the course of your entire life, think how much time you're wasting in very negative ways. What if you could eliminate that? Wouldn't it be worth it? Same thing with the cell phone. What is it really doing for you? How is it really helping you? And do you really need the latest and greatest cell phone? If you need a cell phone, you can get it for pretty much nothing. If you sign up for Xfinity Mobile, as an example, if you look at your local cable provider, it could be Spectrum, Xfinity, Cox Communications. They all have deals where you can bundle your internet with your cell phone. And typically, if you get a reasonable cell phone as opposed to a top-of-the-line cell phone, you can get your cell phone for free, or actually they'll compensate you. This was multiple years back, but I got a mailer for Comcast Xfinity. I had AT&T U-verse at the time, and I'm the sort of person who doesn't view anything as junk mail. So I opened the mailer and I found it was an amazing deal. At the time, I had AT&T U-verse for internet and Verizon for my cell phone. I switched everything over to Comcast Xfinity. I had to get a new phone with them, and I switched it over too. And I saved over $100 per month. I got more than triple the internet bandwidth, and I got basically the same cell phone service because Xfinity Mobile, behind the scenes, it's actually Verizon's network that you're using, but more reliable because it uses more Wi-Fi in the background. And I made $125 worth of credits, incentives for switching over. So not only did the phone cost me nothing, they paid me $125 to make the switch. And the cell phone the coverage cost me, I think, $12 a month, all included. So even if you feel like you need a cell phone, you don't need to pay very much for it. But again, do you really need it? Is it really improving your life? What we all want is happiness. And oftentimes we follow the crowd and we acquire things without really thinking about why we are doing it. It used to be the case that when a new technology came out, it was exciting, interesting, and fun to adopt it. Nowadays, whenever a new technology comes out, I'm always very suspicious because it's not until years later that all the hidden traps are revealed. It's like making a deal with a loan shark. It feels great up front when you get this new piece of technology, that cash infusion in your pocket. It's not until later that you see the hidden trade-offs that you're making and the hidden ways in which they're using you. I'm now slow to adopt new technology, unfortunately. Nothing wrong with technology, but the way that it's being used these days. But again, there's so many things that we don't actually need. I personally do not like accumulating stuff. I find it to be stressful. It just clutters my life, my room, physically, and my mind. I don't want clutter. I want to get rid of stuff. I want to simplify my life. That's where technology can be helpful because thanks to the internet, there are many ways in which we can simplify our life where we don't have to go to the store. We don't have to run errands anymore, thankfully. So the internet is one technology that I think is great that can help us. While I would like to eliminate my car and cell phone, I would probably not eliminate my computer, and I would probably not eliminate my high-speed internet because those do help to simplify my life if used properly. I do not have Facebook or Instagram or any of those other social media channels. If I had my ideal life, I would not be on any social media channel. I do use YouTube and LinkedIn, but only for business purposes, and that helps keep me very disciplined. I can't just talk about whatever I want to. I have to talk about what my clients and prospects are interested to hear, which keeps me disciplined, and it helps guide my focus. But that's another thing. Now, it's not that social media costs you anything monetarily, but it does cost you a tremendous amount spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, and in terms of time. What's more valuable than time? If you eliminate your car, you eliminate those trips, those commutes, you free up a tremendous amount of time. And you can do a lot with that time if you're disciplined about it. Even if you just use that time for healthy recreation, that's improving you mentally and emotionally. And that'll put you in a better state of mind to succeed. So you certainly don't need a cell phone. You can get a soft phone for free. So you can have a phone that's basically software. So it's still a phone number where people can reach you, and you can take that soft phone with you wherever you want. You can actually put it as an app on your cell phone if you wanted to, but you could also just have it on your computer and you have complete control over it. You might have to pay for the software. That's typically pretty inexpensive, but oftentimes you can get it all for free. So you still have a phone number where people can call you, text you, but it's also nice to have distance between you and that phone number. So you can always put it away, so to speak. Whereas the cell phone, it just seems to be a leash that we cannot get rid of. The median cost for a cell phone is $800. The median monthly costs are $140 a month. $140 a month for an electronic leash. What if you could eliminate all that? It would probably improve your life. Your life would probably get more peaceful. Because we don't see the opportunity cost in terms of time and effort. We do see the money that we're spending, and we do see the things that our cell phone, car, college education enables us to do. We don't see what our life could be, what we could do if we didn't have those things. If we eliminated all that clutter, that mental clutter in that time, you'll find that you can do things that you could not do otherwise. You'll be in a different mental space, and it'll take time. It might even take years for you to finally be able to breathe the clean air, and then you'll find you're able to do things and see opportunities that you could not have seen before, opportunities that were maybe right in front of you. But you couldn't see them because you're staring at a device the whole time, because you're driving to and from all the time, and you're never really just in the moment. It's hard to see that until you actually do it, but when you remove that clutter, get rid of your car, get rid of your cell phone, remove yourself from social media, disconnect from the daily news cycle, you'll find that you can see things and do things that you couldn't see or do when you were under the influence of that electronic heroin before. How about vacations? People spend obscene amounts of money on travel and vacations and going all over the place. Again, what we're after is happiness. We want peace. We want happiness. A vacation is not going to make you happy because it's not going to change you. It's not going to change your state of mind. It's not going to improve your spiritual life. Now, I'm certainly not saying don't take vacations. I'm not against vacations. But a vacation doesn't mean a super expensive trip around the world necessarily. You can take a vacation for free. It doesn't require any money for you to take a vacation. There are lots of things you can do that allow you to de-stress, to depressurize, to relax, to recreate, to get true healthy recreation. It does not require you spending absurd amounts of money and traveling all over the world. You don't need to do that. Oftentimes, that's increasing your stress level. It might give you pleasure, but it's disturbing your peace of soul and not giving you happiness. So I'm not telling you not to take a vacation. You can take a vacation, but do you really need to spend an absurd amount of money to do that? And this goes back to something I said earlier, which is that If there is something you do that really does make you happy, that's really a hobby. No, you can't have 18 of them. There can't be 18 different hobbies that you have, but like one or two, you can oftentimes find you can do it for free, or maybe you can turn it into a business and at least turn it into a tax deduction. But certainly when it comes to travel, if you're willing to put in a little bit of time and effort to organize it properly, you look at what the travel hackers are doing online, you don't have to spend a dime. You can go on the nicest vacation you've ever been on and spend no money just by using credit cards and points and miles strategically. It's very doable by the average person. Now, I personally don't like to travel, so I do play the credit card and points and miles game, but just for cash back. That's really all I use. I'm not into the travel. But the other thing too is move so you live in a neighborhood that you like. If you really like your neighborhood, you really like your neighbors and the environment that you're in, I think you'll feel less of an urge to travel. I'm not telling you not to take a vacation. It's fine to take a vacation. But do you really need to spend a lot of money to do it? That's the question. What we're after is happiness. I'm not telling you not to do it, but I am telling you to challenge your preconceived notion that I must do it, that travel makes me happy and I have to do it. Well, is the travel really making you happy? And do you really have to do it? And if you're going to do it, do you have to spend money to do it? And these are questions worth asking. So challenge your preconceived notions. Challenge your preconceived notions. How about this? Do you really need to live where you are now? What about moving? Daniel Amadori was looking at saving money. So he was a self-made millionaire, made a ton of money, but it was all on real estate. In the 2008 financial crash, he got wiped out. He went from riches to rags. And so he was trying to cut every single cost he possibly could. He got foreclosed on. He lived in California, and he had to go back to working a full-time job. I think his wife did as well. And he was looking at aggressively saving money, and he did a lot of research. He did a bunch of things, but the number one way he saved money is he moved. He moved just 1 hour away, and he cut his cost of living in half. In half. I know moving is a big deal. I know it's stressful. But it could save you a ton of money, number one. Number two, it doesn't have to be a permanent move. It could be temporary. Sometimes you need to move somewhere temporarily so you can cut your cost of living, save a bunch of money, and then maybe you can live where you want to live. And again, if you think creatively about it, you can probably live in a really nice neighborhood for free. If you really think about it, there are ways to do it. Think about it. Again, think about it. It might require you swallowing your pride. It might require you losing your ego. But there are ways to live in really nice neighborhoods without paying a dime. If you're willing to give up your ego. There are ways to do it. I'll let you think about that. You don't have to pay a dime to live anywhere. If you really think it through, there are ways to live for free, and you can live where you want to. But if you're in a higher cost area, maybe you can move to a lower cost area. It might require you reducing your ego, but you might find you're happier. Think about moving. By the way, Daniel Amadori, he and his wife, they saved 90% of their income. And they weren't making tremendous income either. They had just gotten foreclosed on, got ruined, pretty much had to go back to square one. They lived in California and saved 90% of their income. So don't tell me it's not doable. You can do it, and you will be happier when you spend less money. You will be happier. What you'll find is you can enjoy the simple pleasures of life, like just going on a walk through your neighborhood. If going on a walk through your neighborhood doesn't make you happy, you need to seriously re-examine your life and where you're living, because that should make you happy. If you need to jet set around the world to be quote-unquote happy, you should seriously re-examine your life. It's not necessary for you to live where you live, and it's not necessary for you to pay anything to live anywhere. If you really think about it, there are lots of ways to live for very little or almost nothing, even in nice areas. If you just apply a little bit of creativity and swallow your pride, it can be done. It can be done. How about taxes? They say death and taxes, but do you really need to pay taxes? Robert Kiyosaki says you don't need to pay taxes. I believe his name is Tom Wheelwright, who's on Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad team. Do you really need to pay taxes? I'm assuming you don't want to pay taxes. But this is one of those things that a lot of people don't really examine. Are there ways to reduce my tax burden? And no, you cannot just outsource that to your CPA. Unless you got one of the really super good CPAs, in which case you're probably already a high net worth person anyway. There are lots of different strategic ways you can eliminate taxes. What about starting a business? You could probably turn some hobby that you're doing into a business. There's probably any number of ways you could start a business and get some additional tax deductions, just as a simple idea. I talked about a tax strategy on my channel where you can have a business and pay your children as employees. And of course, paying employees' salaries is a tax deductible expense. That's just one example. There's the home office deduction when you're working in your business from home. You can write off mileage, travel, etc. If you think about it, there are ways you can reduce or maybe even eliminate your tax burden. It will take planning. It doesn't happen overnight. A lot of the things I'm suggesting are not costs that you can just eliminate overnight. It will require some thinking and planning, but isn't it worth it? And I think all the things I'm talking about are going to improve your standard of living. We have this ridiculous idea that spending more means living at a higher standard of living. I would say it's the exact opposite. Do you want to have more stuff? Or do you want to be wealthy? Those are two different things. Wealthy people don't drive Ferraris. They drive Honda Civics. Or they don't have a car. Wealthy people don't have the latest and greatest cell phone. They have a basic one, or they don't have one at all. Wealthy people don't live in massive mansions. They live in modest houses in decent neighborhoods. It's the millionaire next door. It's the millionaire next door because they recognize those things are not going to make them happy. And they will not make you happy. So I would say, if anything, it's the opposite. The lower your spending goes, the higher your happiness and peace of mind goes because you're decluttering your life. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you you have to eliminate these things. It's totally up to you. And maybe they do make you happy. I guess I have to grant that. I would just say try to limit it to one or two things. Whatever your hobbies are, your activities, your stuff that makes you happy, it shouldn't be 18 different things like the woman who buys 18 different dresses and never wears any of them. Have one or two things that you focus on that make you happy, whatever they are. Those are probably worth investing in. There are lots of expenses that you don't need to be paying, and maybe you've never thought about it. Maybe you've always just taken for granted that you need a cell phone, that you need a car. Do you really? You certainly don't need to spend very much on them. Even if you need wheels to get from point A to point B, you can Uber or you have a relatively inexpensive used car that'll last forever. You can get a basic cell phone that costs you almost nothing and still gives you what you need. You can get a soft phone for free so people can still text and call you. So again, everything you love to do and everything that you want, you can get it for free or at least significantly less expensive than you're thinking. If you just think a bit more creatively, don't focus on the thing that you want. Focus on what is that thing doing for me? What is it that I'm really after? What is the car giving me? What is the cell phone doing for me? And are there other ways I could get that for nothing or for free? If you think about it, there probably are. So I hope this was helpful. I wanted to challenge our preconceived notions about things that we think we need, because unfortunately I see this with prospects and clients where there's just a wall there where they say, I need this. Do you? And I'm not going to challenge them because I can see they're not receptive to any questioning. So I just let it go. And maybe at best I might try and help them finance that purchase in the most optimal way. But if you really want to get ahead, it's much easier to reduce your expenses than it is to increase your income. You need to do both, but decreasing your expenses is very, I don't want to say easy, but it's easier than raising income. It does require some creative thinking, but it doesn't necessarily mean compromising your lifestyle. I think you're going to find that, and when I say lifestyle, your happiness, your peace of mind, your sense of well-being is going to go up as your expenses and the amount of stuff that you have go down. So imitate the millionaire next door. Don't imitate the credit card millionaire who looks like he has a ton of money but is really just up to his eyeballs in debt, is neurotically insecure, and is extremely unhappy. Be like the guy who lives a simple, peaceful life and is very happy without all that stuff He has wealth, but not stuff.